Hello, dear viewers. This is your subjective historian, and today we'll talk about ancient energy, or more specifically, what people used as fuel in the ancient and medieval worlds. At first glance, the answer seems simple. Firewood. But, as always, things aren't that straightforward. I prefer the term fuel because it includes more than just wood. A medieval city was made up of hundreds or even thousands of multi-story houses, with shops and workshops on the ground floor and living spaces above. Firewood was the foundation of both heating and construction. Studies estimate that heating a small urban house required 20-30 cubic meters of dry firewood per year, and that's not even counting cooking, bread baking, and other daily needs. The demand for wood was massive. If people relied solely on nearby forests, they would be gone within a few decades, forcing cities to source wood from farther and farther away. Interestingly, early medieval Europe was covered in vast forests, interrupted only by river valleys and small cultivated fields. But by the late Middle Ages, the landscape had changed. Those forests had been largely cleared for farmland, vineyards, and pastures. Chopping down a giant oak or spruce tree without chainsaws, splitting it into usable logs with just an axe and a handsaw? A grueling task. That's why medieval woodcutters were a workforce of strong young men, an essential part of urban life. However, medieval cities didn't rely solely on local firewood. Rivers played a key role in heating cities. Most towns were built along rivers, which not only provided water and transportation, but also served as a means to float logs downstream from distant forests. As a result, river valleys were among the first areas to be deforested. Another important factor was charcoal production. Large branches and tree roots were burned into charcoal, which was lighter, easier to transport, and more efficient than raw firewood. Merchants sold chopped firewood, bundles of twigs, and sacks of charcoal, making heating more accessible for city dwellers. City folks lived more comfortably than the majority of medieval Europeans, peasants. But how did peasants heat their homes? Most peasants relied on simple fireplaces rather than advanced brick ovens, which were expensive and not always available. In early history, some homes had megarons, large rooms with open hearths but no ceilings, allowing smoke to escape. Others used wall niches to hold glowing embers or lived in smoke-filled houses without chimneys, but that's a topic for another time. In Northern Europe, ovens were already in use during the Middle Ages, but the main heating and cooking device was the simple fireplace. People used it both to keep warm and to prepare food. What kind of fuel did peasants use? They relied on chopped branches, twigs, straw, and dung bricks. High-quality split firewood was a rare luxury for peasant fireplaces. Forests were owned by feudal lords. Feudal lords did not give away good timber, they sold it. However, peasants were allowed to gather fallen branches for free. Straw was available after grain threshing, and dung bricks was another essential fuel source. Since peasants kept livestock, they had plenty of manure from herbivores and other animals. Manure was shaped into small bricks and left to dry in the sun during the summer. It was a crucial heating material, especially in southern Europe. In the dry steppes and semi-deserts of the Middle East and Central Asia, dung was one of the primary fuels, alongside dried weeds. People burned whatever they could, even leaves and seed husks. Straw was placed into fireplaces and stoves in whole sheaves. Later, in the early modern period, cleaned corn cobs and dried stalks were also widely used as fuel. In some regions, peat was available. It was an excellent fuel for fireplaces because it burned well without requiring strong ventilation. The 18th century Industrial Revolution introduced Europeans to coal, a game-changer. It was efficient and powerful, but required specialized stoves with strong ventilation, making it less accessible to rural communities. As a result, cities quickly adopted coal, while villages continued heating their homes the old-fashioned way well into the 19th century. Finally, in the 20th century, the rise of gas and electricity marked the end of traditional heating methods, revolutionizing home energy for good. That's all for today. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more historical insights. See you next time.